on a great scale cannot again occur on account of this planet. Not only has this planet itself now again acquired a normal movement in the general cosmic equilibrium, but its two detached fragments also, which, as I've already told you, are now called Moon and Anulios, have also acquired a normal movement and have become, although small, yet independent Kofensharnian, that is, additional planets of that solar system ores. Having thought a little, his conformity then told me, "Your Reverence, I have appeared to you just for the purpose of talking over the future welfare of the large fragment of that planet which exists at the present time under the name Moon. This fragment," his conformity continued, "has not only become an independent planet, but there has now begun on it the process of the formation of an atmosphere, which is necessary for every planet, and which serves for the actualization of the most great common cosmic Trogoauto-egocrat. And now, Your Reverence, the regular process of the formation of the said atmosphere on this small, unforeseenly arisen planet is being hindered by an undesirable circumstance caused by the three-brained beings arisen and existing on the planet Earth. And it is just about this that I've decided to apply to you, Your Reverence, and to request you to consent to undertake in the name of the Unibeing Creator the task of trying to spare us the necessity of resorting to some extreme sacred process unbecoming for three-centered beings, and to remove this undesirable phenomenon in some ordinary way through the being reason they have in their presences." And in his further detailed explanations, his conformity then said, among other things, that after the second catastrophe to Earth, the biped three-brained beings who had accidentally survived had again multiplied, that now the whole process of their being existence was concentrated on another newly formed, also large continent called Ashark, that three independent large groups had just been formed on this same large continent, Ashark, the first of which existed in a locality then called Tikliamish, the second in a place called Maral Plesi, and the third in a still existing locality then called Pearl Land. And that in the general psyche of the beings belonging to all those three independent groups, certain peculiar Havatavernoni had been formed. That is, certain psychic strivings, the totality of the process of which common cosmic strivings they themselves had named religion. Although these Havatavernoni, or religions, have nothing in common, continued his conformity, yet nevertheless in these peculiar religions of theirs, there is very widely spread among the beings of all three groups the same custom called among them sacrificial offerings. And this custom of theirs is based on the notion, which can be cognized only by their strange reason alone, that if they destroy the existence of beings of other forms in honor of their gods and idols, then these imaginary gods and idols of theirs would find it very, very agreeable, and always and in everything unfailingly help and assist them in the actualization of all their fantastic and wild fancies. This custom is at present so widespread there, and the destruction of the existence of beings of various forms for this maleficent purpose has reached such dimensions that there is already a surplus of the sacred Ashkokin required from the planet Earth for its former parts. That is to say, a surplus of those vibrations which arise during the sacred process of Raskoarno, of beings of every exterior form arising and existing on that planet from which the said sacred cosmic arising is required. For the normal formation of the atmosphere of the newly arisen planet Moon, the said surplus of the sacred Askokin has already begun seriously to hinder the correct exchange of matters between the planet Moon itself and its atmosphere. And the apprehension has already arisen that its atmosphere may in consequence be formed incorrectly, and later become an obstacle to the harmonious movement of the whole system ores, and perhaps again give rise to factors menacing a catastrophe on a greater common cosmic scale. So, Your Reverence, my request to you, as I've already told you, is that you should consent, since you are in the habit of often visiting various planets of that solar system, to undertake the task of specially descending on the planet Earth, and of trying there on the spot to instill into the consciousnesses of these strange three-brained beings some idea of the senselessness of this notion of theirs. Having said a few more words, his conformity ascended, and when he was fairly high up, added in a loud voice, "By this, Your Reverence, you will be rendering a great service to our unibeing, all-embracing endlessness." After these sacred individuals had left the planet Mars, I decided to carry out the said task at all costs, and to be worthy, if only by this explicit aid to our unique burden-bearing endlessness, of becoming a particle, though an independent one, of everything existing in the great universe. So, my boy, imbued with this, I flew the next day on the same ship Occasion for the second time to your planet Earth. This time our ship Occasion alighted on the sea, which was newly formed by the perturbation during the second great disaster to that planet of yours, and which was called there in that period of the flow of time Gurdjieff. This sea was situated on the northwest of that newly formed large continent Ashark, which at that period was already the chief center of the existence of the three-brained beings there. The other shores of this sea were composed of those newly emerged terra firmas which had become joined to the continent Ashark, and which altogether were first called Friankzanarali and a little later Gurdjieff. It must be remarked that this sea and also the mentioned terra firmas exist until now, but of course they now already have other names. For instance, the continent Ashark is now called Asia, the sea Gurdjieff, the Caspian Sea, and all the Friankzanarali together now exist under the name Caucasus. The Occasion alighted on this sea Gurdjieff, or Caspian Sea, because this sea was the most convenient for mooring our Occasion, as well as for my further travels. And it was very convenient for my further travels, because from the east a large river flowed into it, which watered almost the whole country of Tikliamish, and on the banks of which stood the capital of that country, the city Kurkalai. As the greatest center of existence of these favorites of yours was then the country Tikliamish, I decided to go there first. Here, it might as well be remarked that although this large river, then called Oxoceria, now still exists, yet it no longer flows in the present Caspian Sea, because after a minor planetary tremor, at almost halfway, it turned to the right and flowed into one of the hollows on the surface of the continent Ashark, where it gradually formed a small sea which still exists and is called the Aral Sea.